We did it, ladies and gentlemen. I finally finished one of the mini series I set out to do way long ago. So, in honor of the final review of High Guardian Spice, with the drunk rules set upon by spilling the milk, which only 7 this time, because I wasn't going to count every single time someone got stabbed or shot or shot with magic and whatnot. Just because if that was the case, I would run out of alcohol pretty quickly. So I basically only counted each scene if there was violence and each time someone swore. Because there was a bit of swearing in this one, but 7. Way different from some of the other ones, including episode 6, which was 36. And I guess you could say I cheated a bit, because normally I did it every time. But the last couple of episodes have been very different from the beginning ones, both for decent reasons. But in honor of the last episode of High Guardian Spice, episode 12, Attack on High Guardian Academy, with a much better ending than the actual Attack on Titan ending. That's right, I said it. Sorry for you Attack on Titan fans, I enjoyed the series myself for a little bit, but your ending sucks. So, with that being said, I raise a glass to High Guardian Spice. You came out almost a year ago, and you helped me complete my first series. Will I do another series like this? Depends if something's really bad enough and there's decent drinking game rules. But until such a time, salute. This, ladies and gentlemen, by the way, is some of my final liqueur. This is the Shin, a Japanese malt whiskey. Remember, y'all, drink responsibly, wait till you're 21, and whatever you do, don't try to do stupid drunk games like I'm doing. I'm aware how hypocritical that sounds, but bottoms up! Oh! Forget how smooth that stuff is. Yeah, remember, wait till you're 21. But now, Attack on High Guardian Academy, which, like I said before, is basically a glorified fight scene, which really didn't need to happen in all honesty, but... So, we wrap the series up with the Triad making their big move. After Olive failed at the festival to kill the girls, their new plan is to send this guy, Mandrake, who's like one of their top assassins, and the dude's a competent fighter, definitely, well... I assume he's competent, but we'll get to that. So, he shows up and his job is he needs to kill anyone connected to the rot. Anyone who knows about it. Which he should already know, because I'm assuming Olive told everyone, and it's like she knows the majority of them, or at least you can assume. Like, she knows the girls know. I would imagine she'd be able to, spy and figure out that, like, and I've been saying her name wrong for so long, and I apologize. Amaryllis, or I've been calling her Amaranth, so I'll keep doing that even though it's Amaryllis, but honestly, they slur their dialogue and their sound editing still needs work, but whatever. And Snapdragon, I would imagine, but then you have Caraway, who's also would be a prime target, but no, he's going to go in, and it's revealed that apparently Rosemary is Lavender's daughter, which we already know, but the Mandrake didn't, and he knows who Lavender is. And Olive's plan was to take Rosemary to which country to meet her mother as a guise to get her there. Here's a thought. What if instead of trying to kill everyone in the festival, why not just tell her that in general? And then kill her on the road or do something. There's ways to get around this. You didn't need to go off what they're about to do. So, they get there, and basically his job is to kill them all, and the entire episode is just them dealing with Mandrake and Olive. He's actually a pretty clever guy, because he has the ability to shapeshift. So he shapeshifts into different people, including Rosemary's mother, Lavender, and gets her away from everybody with Olive watching in her cat form. So, he basically pretends to be Lavender, he gets all the information out of her, like who would know, and Rosemary lets it slip that Caraway might have written about the rot in his journal, but technically that's not true, because not just does Caraway know, but so does the Rita Repulsa professor, and also the 3 mermaids that were there, and obviously the fairy elves, because they've seen the rot, so clearly more people know about this, and he lures her away. under the guise of being her mother and tries to kill her, but when she mentions that Caraway's maybe got it in his journal, he might have told other people, he goes off to try to deal with Caraway. Why'd you stop? Like, it doesn't take that much effort to stab into a girl's back. I shouldn't say that like I know it, but yeah. So, by the way, in case you guys weren't curious, how many of these we went through? Like I said, only 7 this time because I skirted a little bit. But yeah. So now a competent person would kill her. Never said a moral person, I said a competent. But if you really need this, need her alive for whatever purpose, knock her out, freaking throw her in a sack, and throw that sack into a closet or something. Look, freaking, like, this is like villainy 101. You kidnap or capture the freaking person by themselves, you truss them up and use them as bait to lure the other people in, and then you ambush them. Or you isolate them one by one and take them out, because he knows who the people are. He doesn't have to kill them right away, I imagine, unless he has to, but they never outright said he did. They just trusted him. And he seems to be a competent assassin in his skills, at least, because the Triad did send him for this, so I'm assuming he's good. But he doesn't, like, nullify the potential. Like, he's like, don't tell anyone I'm here. She's a freaking teenage girl! You don't think she's gonna tell her friends that her mother, who's been gone for so long, came back? Also, yeah, she was going to, because Time basically plays the goblets, gab or goblets, whatever that truth or dare thing is, with Parsley and tells her to tickle Rosemary until she reveals it. That's an interesting way. And she lets it drop that it's her mother. They go to Caraway. They talk to Caraway. His room's a mess. Turns out it's the fake guy, Mandrake. Once again, the more masculine male, I would say, in this situation. But, yeah, Caraway tackles Mandrake and they get into a fight. And we see that Caraway can use old magic and new magic together, which is interesting because we already saw the cousins do that. So I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's just a single person doing it. Also, you would imagine this would be a pretty important lesson to learn. But some of the other teachers already don't have any respect for old magic. So if old magic can buff new magic, why not teach that as the primary thing? Like, people obviously are better in certain areas, but if it's the best way to do it, you should do it. But beyond all that, Caraway apparently lets the girls off on his own after he beats Mandrake and blasts him out of a window, and he survives. I mean, give the dude credit, Mandrake's very durable. And I guess somehow Olive got the drop on him, and he goes down to poison the other professors, but it turns out it's sleeping potion instead of regular poison. And Olive's whole thing is, like, not killing people, but she's okay with other people killing people from the previous episode, like episode 8 and 9, so once again, getting some mixed signals here. And, you know, professors get knocked out. They're trapped in the forge with, and you convince the kids down there. They get trapped down there. And the big B plot is Amaranth, basically, and Snapdragon leading the students to escape. Interesting, though, because in episode 11, Caraway mentioned the Snapdragon when he beat the crud out of Cal, who looks better now, by the way. When he beat the crud out of Cal, he goes, he doesn't respect you, he fears you. And is that really any good? Well, Snapdragon basically scares Cal into basically bowing to Amaryllis. I keep calling Amaranth, but I know it's Amaryllis now, but Amaranth. Basically bows down to her and tells him, yeah, no, she's in charge. I said so. You got a problem with that? Once again, props to the dude putting himself in charge and standing up for himself. I appreciate, without trying to use physical force. I do appreciate that, but it's very contradictory to the last episode, which I spent 44 minutes ranting on, so fair enough. But they managed to get the professors out and they escape because Mandrake was letting the school on fire, which once again, I imagine if you're trying to be, inconspicuous, ooh, that's a good crack, to be inconspicuous, I imagine you would do your best to make sure that it wasn't that obvious. Like, I know the old additive is if you want to hide who you're killing, plant a bomb in the room to take everybody out. Or like in Jack Reacher, when the guy wanted to assassinate one person, it looked like a rogue sniper taking out like 7 people. But, yeah, it's a little weird. Because I think if the High Guardian Academy, the place where all the Guardians are from, gets burnt down because of a missed spell with all the powerful people there. I find that hard to believe, especially when there's a freaking emergency glass that instead of having a fire extinguisher, they have these magical gloves that summon up and push things away. And with all the students around, because Sage is able to summon a typhoon, I imagine that most people are able to do that spell too, even at her young age, I guess, for like a better word. She's only a first year and there's 3 years, so I'm curious what the second and third years are. And that brings us to Mandrake. He's very crucial and he's clearly got a plan, and his plan, besides the killing all people, seems to possibly work. But it's Olive that keeps throwing a wrench into his plans and preventing him. And so when everybody's trapped, the girls fight him. He manages to outsmart them because Olive's been reading Rosemary's diary, so she knows a little bit of information. So when they try to do a little fake out, he catches them. He's got Tyne in a freaking armbar, basically, and a dagger to her throats. Now, a smart person... Now, hear me out here. A smart person, considering the other two people are currently dealing with a fire, and you have already had one basically captured, and the other one with her weapon drawn on you, would then tell Olive to relieve her of her weapon and restrain her in some way, then restrain Tyne, or kill them. You know, both are viable options here. It depends if you want to use them as bait or not. And then proceed to get the other two involved and then do the same. And which brings me to, all this could have been solved. He had Rosemary all alone. Here's a thought. Maybe kidnap her under the guise of being Lavender, leave a ransom note or some crud to get all these people and go, yes, if you want her alive, you need to come, and you can only tell these people, and if you don't show up, she's dead, yada, and if you tell anybody, I'll know she's, and have Olive show up and maybe be like a spy going, yeah, no, if you guys say anything, I gotta let him know, and he can see through my eyes some magical spell. And because Lavender's in freaking witch country, and now that we know that Lavender's, there, maybe Rosemary could talk to Mandrake. Maybe he could find it fun to mess with her mind and say all these things about her mother. Like, oh, you're Lavender's daughter. Well, you won't believe what she does for us. Because, spoiler alert, at the end of the series, it turns out that Rose's mom, Lavender, works for the Triad as a Darth Vader-looking wannabe. So I don't know, and she's a well-known guardian because everyone knows her sword, Flowering Thorn. So I don't know why the Witch Council is okay with her being there. If she's a guardian, is she undercover? Like I said, they don't really do much with it. I mean, they never will because Season 2 doesn't exist yet, and probably never will, but regardless. So, with all that said, it could have been a really good scene. You would have isolated them. You could have set an ambush. We could have seen how powerful Mandrake is. Like, even against the girls, Snapdragon, Amaryllis, and even Caraway, he's able to go toe-to-toe with them all. Like, he's able to use these high-level spells, and he's blasting the girls away in Snapdragon. Maybe one of them gets, injured or something, and he's got to go toe-to-toe with Caraway. You know how I know this worked? It worked in Naruto against Zabuza and Haku. Kakashi fought Zabuza, while Haku fought Naruto and Sasuke. And it showed how powerful each of them was, and how much it took. And that's where we saw Kakashi's true strength for a moment there. There's stuff you can do with here. Let the kids show that they're capable of at least improving or have some, strong foothold, but show that they're still woefully outmatched against these higher level people. Like I said, I just switched to the hard stuff for this because I ran out of my usual regular basic beer, and I didn't want to crack open a new one, so I figured, what the heck, we'll have some fun. But stronger people, and I know this works because I've seen it in other shows. And it's really good because, I showed this earlier, but with the Cold Steel games, the younger characters who are students, clearly, they're a match in some way for these higher level people, like these, elite terrorists, this really powerful organization with people strong enough to take over an entire kingdom if they wanted to. They can match, but they can't win. They can just hold them back long enough for the adults to show up, at least in the beginning. And then the adults are able to go toe-to-toe with these guys because they have the experience. It's actually a really cool way to do it. Now, granted, you could do the same thing here, but, in animated form versus video game form. So, you could have done something with this. We could have had more character, and it's clearly wanting to end it with a really big thing, but like an attack on High Guardian Academy, like an attack on the actual academy itself, should have been a much bigger thing. Should have waited more. If they knew they only had one season, fine, fair enough. But still, it's stakes and outcome. You can't just go straight for the big attack on the school or attack on the citadel or attack on your stronghold in the first season if you're planning on doing multiple seasons, because once you do that, you can't keep going up. Like, for example, let's say in Teen Titans, the original series, if you started straight off with Slade's attack on the tower with the demon army, it would have robbed it of all the gravitas when that happened, because we knew that Titan's tower, yeah, it got attacked by like the Hive, but it was never attacked on that scale. It was never this all out. They never put this much power and determination into its defense. So when it finally fell, or was in the process of falling basically, it stood that much more. So it's not that I'm against the idea of this happening, it's just needed to happen later. You know how you fix this? First off, you don't have episode 10, so you have a bit more space for this. Make this a two-parter, all right? Basically, and here's the thing, I like this because it shows Sage and Rosemary being closer together, working together. Oh yeah, I guess I should say how it ends before I say how I would change it. But they beat Mandrake, spoiler alert. Olive betrays him, going back to what I said way a couple minutes ago. With, he's got time, with a dagger. And Mandrake gives Olive his backup dagger to stab Time. Also, Rosemary didn't charge Olive to try to save her. Like, she didn't try anything fancy or creative. Like, this would have been a really good time to show off, like, one of Flowery Thorn's abilities, like, if it had any. Like, maybe it's got the ability to shoot vines out and, like, wrap up the opponent. Maybe it's got a way to, like, Rose's shield or something, like from Steven Universe. Maybe it's got a way to create a barrier or a suit of armor. Maybe it's got, like, a sonic thing. Something cool to give this sword some actual heft besides just who wielded it. And maybe, the fact that it got broke. Or the indestructible blade, I would say. But, I mean, they've always said that, she's not strong enough to handle Flowery Thorn, so I'm like, maybe there's a special power to it. We'll never know, but... So, Olive betrays Mandrake, stabs him, and now it's a 5-on-1. And Mandrake, he's been in control the entire time. Whether or not you agree with his plan of burning down the school and trying to keep it inconspicuous, at the very least, he had a plan and he was doing a very good job of it. It was only Olive that kept screwing up. If he had his way, all the teachers would be dead. The students probably still could have escaped, but still... And if he did that, he would have been... Actually, no, if he killed all the professors, he wouldn't have done that because they were asleep. Why didn't he stab them while they were asleep? He could have just walked up to each of their throats and go, there goes Caraway, there goes Rita, there goes the Succubus, there goes the Centaur, there goes Ons von Flux, there goes the Karate Guy. Boom, they're out of Guardians, they're out of teachers, and I just got to deal with 6 less bodies. Now let's go on a rampage and have fun, because... the heavy hitters are gone. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying there were plans, or potential. So, they fight. We get to see some air combat on the broomsticks because Olive has her own broomstick, as well as Sage has her wand, which doubles as a broomstick. So, they fight. He's using Terra Spheres. He's using all his spells. I give the dude credit. He took his blade and burnt it to sear his wound up so he wouldn't bleed out. Very smart. I hate saying it that way, but that's what you're supposed to do. If you're stabbed and you're bleeding in a heavy amount, you have to cauterize the wound. Otherwise, it's, you could die. Only downside is usually that knocks people out from the sheer pain of it. But, I mean, Mandrake fell out of a second-story window and he's fine. So, maybe he's used to pain. Maybe shapeshifters don't feel pain. I don't know. So, they fight. And, Rosemary is with Sage. They're fighting together. Olive is using cat-themed spells. Like, she's got, like, a little kitty cat shield and, like, a cat paw punch. And weird. Sage gets knocked off her her wand. Rosemary's hanging on the edge of a 2-story building as well and about to fall, which I guess that would do serious damage to her. It didn't to Mandrake, but whatever. So, her hair's caught, so they gotta do the Naruto thing yet again, where Sakura cut her hair off to save her friends, basically, because, and here's how it varies. So, throughout the show in Naruto, it was built up that Sakura kept her hair long because she heard that Sasuke, the boy she had a crush on, likes long hair. That was never the case, but still. So she always grew it long so that he would notice her. So when him and Naruto were both poisoned and sealed, basically, and they had to recover, she had to protect them. These ninjas showed up and were trying to kill them, and one of them had Sakura's hair oh yeah, and one of the other ninjas showed up to help them, Rock Lee, but he couldn't handle all three of them. Rock Lee, great ninja, one of the best characters. Fight me on it. But she's got her hair basically tied up behind her, and, she's, being held there. She can't do anything. So she takes her kunai and cuts her hair so she can go save her friends. It's more impactful because we know the reason why she has her hair. We know why she kept it long, so when she cuts it, it's basically her acceptance of being a ninja and being willing to sacrifice stuff to save the people she cares about, in this case, her team. Now, in this show, however, it's like a big deal that, Sage cuts her ponytail to rescue Rosemary, and it's still a good thing that she did that, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't play the same level. It's like, okay, she cut her hair to save Rosemary, alright. But they make it play like it's a big deal, and I'm like, no, it's not. And I gotta say this, speed run, they beat Mandrake using a Kamen Rider kick, then Rosemary's able to go toe-to-toe with him in a sword fight, when he can summon multiple swords to attack someone. Okay, I have an issue with stuff like this. If you can summon multiple swords to fight a single sword user, you should never lose. You know why? Because in movies and shows, for dramatic effect, they swing the blades in the same manner. Like if I swing my sword down, the other three will come on top of it. Or they'll move all around sporadically, but they'll attack the same way. I'm sorry, one high, one on the side, two underneath. She cannot block them all. She dead. Like, do it. Little pet peeve of mine. That's my only pet peeve. When someone can summon multiple of a single weapon to attack people, and they don't just swarm them. Piccolo did it in Dragon Ball Z, and the only reason it didn't work was because Android 17 had a shield. That was it. So he fights Rosemary, and Rosemary's able to go toe-to-toe with his swordsman, who's like one of the best. Like, if he was toying with her, maybe it would make more sense, but it's clear he's on like desperate mode because he's been messed up from everybody. He's got like he had arrows in the leg from Tyne. He got slammed by Parsley's hammer, blasted by Sage's magic, stabbed by Olive. Like, this dude, props to him for keep going, and considering what happens at the end, it makes sense. But he goes all out, and literally nothing happens. And then they beat him. He gets blasted by Sage, combining old magic and new magic together, which, I'll be honest, if you had spent more time with that, would have been a bigger payoff too. It just needed more time to have that play out. But it's one of the things I've always said they needed to do was have something get brought in early on and then pay off later. Like, maybe that lesson that Caraway showed them using old magic and new magic together would have been better, like in a classroom, like in episode 4 or 5, and then finally brought back here when she remembers it. A payoff, but no, instead they blast Mandrake and he escapes, and they cut Sage's hair, and now it looks like Rosemary minus the puff. So, and then Rosemary looks longingly into her eyes and goes, yeah, we'll always be together, and you're my good friend. As she flicks her hair behind her ear, I'm like, dude, we get it. You're shipping those two freaking hard. Like, freaking Korra and freaking Mako weren't this bad. Korra and Asami was more subtle than this. And it was subtle, by the way. I'm just saying those are the first two that came to mind. Freaking Pearl and Rose was less subtle than this, or more subtle than this. Because I always thought that was a whole honor thing, Knight and Master. Nope, way wrong there. But still. And then Amaranth compliments her hair, which is a good sign that she's starting to become nicer. Sage mentions how Snapdragon has painted nails now. and it looks nice. And like I said, tie back to episode 11 when I spent that massive rant on, it's actually would have been a good thing considering it builds up and it actually shows his characters becoming more accepted and slowly transitioning to what he wants to be. Because some people, and this might shock people, but some people can just like wearing feminine things and whatnot and not be female or go full trans. Rarer though it might be, but I used to be in Ohio and drag was a big thing up there. Well, drag queens, but still. So, well, that at a young age by a weird circumstance. Nothing bad happened. It was just one of those like, oh, that's a woman. Nah, Kevin, that's a man. What? But yeah, no, like all jokes aside, it's nice to see Snapdragon slowly progressing, and that gives us to the ending where usually the ending's like them going on adventures and whatnot that we never see. But considering that it's the end of their era, the end of the semester, they start the winter break early. Oh, and I've been saving this nugget for a little bit. It's called High Guardian Spice, but the main characters are named Rosemary, Sage, Parsley, and Thyme. Any of you figured out the problem yet? In case you don't, it's okay. Someone had to explain it to me too. Those aren't spices. They're herbs. So the name of your series is a lie. Rosemary, sage, thyme, and parsley are all herbs, not spices. You can use them in the sense of spice, but they're categorized as herbs. So, and if anybody wants to correct me down below, by all means go ahead. Your title is a lie. I've been holding that one for a while, but still. So the ending, and the reason I say it's because Rosemary says all their names, and they finally say, we're High Guardian Spice, based on our names. I mean, if she thinks those are spices, it kind of is hilarious, don't get me wrong, but... So, they get their name, it's nice, and we see the endings differ, because normally they would go on adventures, like I said before, but now it's just them going on winter break, and getting new outfits, and... Yeah, I'm not a fan of most of these outfits. Except Tyne's. Tyne's worse because she's in like a leather jacket and like literal blades on her. She looks kind of metal, which for an elf I actually kind of like that because most elves keep regal wear or very florist wear. So seeing someone in like leather jackets and spikes and everything is kind of cool. It's why I like the Prince Division from the Unexpectables channel because Tanis was a cop who always had like a big old duster on him and everything. I mean, the other guy did too, but still. Good series. It's done. 48 episodes, about anywhere from 3 hours to, I think the longest was like 4.5 hours per episode. Good run for a D&D series. Look it up. But, hashtag not sponsored. But they go on their winter wear. Parsley is wearing like, I don't know what you would describe it, like a Hungarian folk dress, like the overall straps. She's got like the really big poof skirts. Yeah, and this doesn't sound weird for me, I don't like Parsley wearing a skirt. And here's why. Her whole thing is that she's a blacksmith and everything, and that she's got more of a tomboyish outlook with her, even though she, big fan of everybody. She's a huge people person. She's still the best character in the show by far. Even though they don't know what to do with her because she's that good, they can't realize, we can't really write bad writing with her, can we? Because we made her too good. But, yeah, not a fan of that one. Rosemary gets you ever seen like a picnic table with the polka dot, like the checkered pattern? It looks like that, but it's like white and pink, and it's got overalls, and it still has the same frills underneath. And then, I like this, actually, to continue with the transition. Rosemary and Snapdragon actually come out and they're wearing the same thing. But it's not like he's wearing like a sailor outfit or anything. It's just like a plain white tee that's got a little long. It's got a little accent on it so it flaps a little bit. And it's got like a little ribbon thing here. It's clearly more feminine in wear, but it's not like he's wearing a freaking skirt or like a flower dress or something. So it shows the transition. And goes to what I said in the last episode, where it needs to build before it has this big revelation. And Amaryllis there just for the heck of it. We see the professors all have a poker game, and Rita Repulsa steals all the succubus's money, so she's I hate calling it that, but still. The demonesses or succubus's money, and she's forced to go back home in a potato sack in the winter, so hopefully she's immune to the elements. And we see everybody go on their own ways. Parsley's with her family, including her baby sister. Tyne is now closer to her mother because of all the events that happened. Rosemary and Sage are with the cousins and, looking out, enjoying the winter. It's honestly a nice ending and a good setup for things to come. I just wish it was better, but So it ends with Mandrake, and then we get a post-credit scene where Mandrake is dragged in front of the Triumvirate. And I got a theory here, but I'll save that for the end. And I don't know if they're this clever or this cliche, but I kind of like the idea of it because I'm a sick person when it comes to this type of stuff, because I enjoy the darkness in shows because I like seeing the light overcome it. See, once again, Kamen Rider build. But, so, Mandrake is dragged in, Lavender is there. Lavender basically is the executioner of them, like their vanguard basically. And the Triumvirate's there, and they basically say, Mandrake, you failed us. No, it was Allah's fault. Please, spare me. Show mercy. Let me live, and I'll help you. What do you say? And then it looks to Lavender, and she goes, execution. And she's wearing, dark armor. I gotta give credit here. The armor looks actually really good. Whoever designed the armor for Lavender, props on you, because all we've seen is Lavender in very light armor and everything. No, this is full plate mail with dark armor. You can see the gaps in it with the chain mail and everything. Whoever did it did a really good job. And then it ends. So, earlier in the episode, and I kind of skipped over this, they mentioned that the Triad, the three witches that run the academy, are off on a secret mission. And then we see the Triumvirate, which is the three basically master wizards that run all over witch country and everything. They're like the top CEOs, as Amaryllis said. And Lavender works for them. So I'm curious. They have to be the same people. Because one looks younger. One looks medium age. And one looks old as heck. All of them. And they're just away on a mission, and we finally see the Triumvirate, or the Triad, basically. No, it's the Triumvirate, sorry. Triumvirate is the witch people, Triad is the people from High Garden Academy. But, no, you cannot set this up without it paying off like this. Especially considering that the Triad is immortal, and the Triumvirate seems to be going along for a long time. If it was me writing this, not Ray Rodriguez. I never read the comics past a few little wiki leaks when I was getting some information on this, so I don't know what he planned on it ending with. But I would have had them be the council and slowly manipulating the situation and this master plan to just take over the world. Because if the rot is so powerful, it's eating away at nature, well, they come in and save them. They're suddenly the heroes. Think of it. In Gundam 00, the whole point of Celestial Being, the protagonist, we'll call them, of the series, was to basically be global terrorists, yes, and get everybody to hate them so that they would band together and defeat them. While somebody behind the scenes was all in favor of that, but waiting to get his moment to strike and truly take control of everything. What if the Triad was secretly actually being the Triumvirate to get the situation as bad as it could be and then do their master plan? The Guardians were just their agents to make them look good, and then they play it. What if they have a little thing where they implement all the Guardians with a little Order 66, if you will? What if they can control them? Maybe that's why Lavender is there in Witch Country. Maybe that's why she's working as one of their main enforcers. Could be. But these will all be good ideas, and we don't know how this would end. Yeah. I will say I had a lot more fun with it this watch due to my friend here. Props to a friend of mine who gave me this. Definitely got its money's worth in this run. But High Guardian Spice. Am I sad it's gone and there won't be any more for me to riff and make fun of? Oh, definitely. Am I gonna lose sleep over it? No. There's a lot of things out there to enjoy and just make fun of. And I have to say this, is High Guardian Spice the worst anime ever created? Hell no! I've seen far worse than this. I've seen some stuff that makes me question what the heck these guys were thinking when they animated it. I've seen stuff that would make you go, what the fuck? What? That type of stuff. So this isn't that bad. Also, the dialogue might have been bad and the audio might be spotty, but watch an episode of Maze, M-A-Z-E, and the dub specifically, and tell me that their audio and voice acting isn't as bad as the main character, well, second main character in it, named Maze, actually. So yeah, that was fun. Watch that series, and no, I will not review all that, because I have some sanity left. Unless you guys get me to 100,000 subscribers, because then I'll get paid for that crud. 100,000, I'll review every single episode of Maze. 100,000 subscribers, go. No way in hell that's happening. Jump cut to 20 years from now, and ancient me is reviewing Maze. Yeah, it's just a garbage show. But is High Guardian Spice the worst? No. Maze is pretty up there. Is it good? Nope. Like I said, I have seen the good in the show and the potential it could have. That doesn't make you good. I've seen good and potential in a lot of shows. I saw the good and potential in the Cowboy Bebop live-action remake. And you know what? I've heard a lot of people who like it. Good for you. I enjoyed the original and saw what it could have been, and didn't enjoy the abomination we got from the Syndicate. I still stand by Jet and Spike being good. I have seen the good in a lot of things, but the execution is what fails it. And High Guardian Spice fails in the execution. You wanted to be representation, you wanted to be diverse, you wanted to check all these little boxes, but the one thing you didn't check was the quality of your work. While I had fun with it, and while, like I said, there was good stuff, you can't overlook the project as a whole. If I was a teacher, and I had a test in front of me, and you got every answer wrong, just because I could see where you were going, doesn't mean you're gonna get an A. In fact, it's pretty sure you're probably not. Maybe you'll get a D, maybe you'll get a C, who knows. But still, you needed to rework this. You needed to keep Kate Leth and all that toxicity as far away from this as humanly possible. You needed to shave some episodes and expand on others. You needed to speed the pace up for some characters, and in the case of Snapdragon, slow the pace down. But still, if you're in for a crazy ride and you wanted to see what the hell I was talking about throughout all this, it's on Crunchyroll for free with ads. You don't need an account like I got. But if you do get an account, not sponsored by Crunchyroll here, you can enjoy other classics like Spy X Family, Yu Yu Hakusho, most of the Gundam series, and even including the first season of Rise of the Shield Hero. Why didn't I say season 2? That's a topic for another day. But still, High Guardian Spice, you were my first series I fully reviewed, so you will always have a special place in my heart. Until I drink about 5 more of these and I forget. But I'm not doing that with the good stuff because that actual drink I just took was about... I'm not going to say the price value on what the shin is, but it's a pretty penny. Thanks again for the gift, by the way, for all my friends. And to all of you who stuck with me to the end of this wonderful series, I now hold a gift to you. A free gift, if you will. To the first, I'll be nice, the first 2 people to comment below with the phrase, I made it to the end, if you do that, whatever you write underneath, I will review. Stipulation: if it's a movie, I might take a little bit to find it, depending on how it is. Also, if it's a series and it's more than like 6 hours cumulative, I will only review the first basically 3 to 4 hours of it. So, like I said, as a gift to you for making it this far, the first 2 people to comment below, I made it to the end, you get to choose 2 things I am forced to review. By all means, choose whatever your heart's content shall be. With the exception, I will not review anything illegal or stuff I cannot put on YouTube. Sorry, that takes off a lot of the mature content out there, but most shows and movies and whatnot will be available. So, by all means, have fun. But until next time, guys, when I will dive into the wonderful world of Street Fighter, talk about Miss Marvel, the wonderful, beautiful, good anime that is Spy X Family, including positive female characters. See what I did there? Good female characters, competent female characters, complex female characters. Little shade, had to get at the end. But as always, guys, this is the $1 Critic signing off, and I'm curious to see if anybody will actually write it. Later.